Sometimes, all a game needs is a simple idea. An idea so efficient, so malleable, but so wonderfully creative that it immediately draws you in and captures your interest. Such was the case with Candy Rangers from developer Mechano. I was immediately taken by its colorful, inventive approach to an on-rail shooter, and I knew I had to give it a try. And I can't deny that the adorable sweet-as-hell art style certainly helped persuade me, but it was actually the concept of color-coordinated blasting that was just too inspired to ignore. It seemed like such a great little idea provided the developer managed to pull it off effectively. A concept like this is usually iterated on and twisted in ways so complex and intricate that the game evolves right in front of your eyes into likely more than you could have imagined at the start of the adventure. Other times, the idea remains simple and uncomplicated, and while it can still be charming, it fails to become anything beyond that opening. These simple ideas need nurturing to evolve, to grow, in order to flourish. Candy Rangers felt like the kind of game that could have that special spark, and in many ways it delivers on those expectations, though it falters in some notable areas. Candy Rangers follows the adventures of sisters Candy, Mint, Plum, and Lemon, each of them part of the Ranger system. Rangers are tasked with traveling the world and defeating creatures known as Una, who bring chaos and destruction wherever they go. The Una themselves were, long ago, a tribe that lived in harmony with nature, but after abusing the blessings of the planet, they were cursed into their monstrous, destructive forms. That backstory is only mentioned in the intro and never really touched on again, as the game instead shifts focus to the four sisters. The narrative overall is slight, with only a handful of cutscenes. It's clear that the story isn't a priority here, feeling more like a callback to arcade games of old. It works fine as set dressing for the gameplay, and for that purpose it does its job. The little snippets we get of the Rangers' antics through memory pictures unlocked by clearing score thresholds add a nice bit of charm to the experience. Other characters don't appear enough to be memorable, but since this is a game built so heavily around its mechanics, that doesn't feel like a problem. Using the face buttons, you can make each of the characters fire their blasters with one button assigned to each sister. Candy shoots a red beam that spreads horizontally, Plum's blue beam fires straight forward, Mint's green beam shoots vertically, and Lemon's yellow beam spreads out diagonally. While any of these beams can eliminate enemies, the intended idea is to match the formation of the enemies or the color target indicator around them. Controls are customizable, letting you remap the four buttons as you like, though the default setting seems natural on a standard gamepad. There is an almost rhythm game-like flow to Candy Rangers. Using the correct shots consecutively increases your combo, which then multiplies your score. Even if you clear a stage, you'll likely feel like you could have done better, and the pull to retry is pretty strong here. Each level is short enough to make repeat runs easy and addictive. Some stages demand real skill to hit the high score targets, and reaching those later thresholds feels rewarding. The game also gives you the tools like a melee attack, dodge, jump, and dash, where mastering them becomes necessary to aim for perfect scores. And they add a good layer of depth to the otherwise simple mechanics. I really appreciate how the developer applied these ideas. Even though it never evolves into something exceptionally deep, the short runtime means it doesn't wear out its welcome. Bouncing between levels, collecting medals, and chasing high scores always felt fun while I was playing. Still, there are areas where the game isn't as tight as it could be. None of them ruin the experience, but they add enough frustration to hold the game back from being somewhat truly special. Accuracy is the most noticeable problem. During gameplay, there are plenty of moments where you need to carefully plan what shot to use first. A cluster of enemies may be positioned so that choosing the wrong beam breaks your combo. Even after figuring out the order, stray bullets often hit enemies they weren't aimed at, and in turn ruining the streak. Sometimes bullets intended for one formation clipped the other group approaching nearby. With obstacles and differing terrain, too many situations felt like they required luck instead of skill to keep combos intact. But it wasn't enough to stop me playing, since the game always found a way to pull me back in, but the frustration was hard to ignore. The boss stages also feel a little uneven. Some dragged on way too long, like the second and final bosses, while others ended way too quickly, like the third. Certain bosses had satisfying mechanics worth learning, while others felt trivial. The first boss was the best overall, balancing length and mechanics in a way that others didn't. Adding more mechanics across the board as well as a visible health bar would probably improve these fights considerably. Despite its faults, Candy Rangers succeeds more than it fails. Most of the issues feel like things that could be fine-tuned with updates. At its core, it's still a fun, compact shooter with a bright art style that is simple but full of charm. The soundtrack is excellent as well, with boss tracks that hit hard and stage themes that swing between upbeat and relaxed. The music is actually catchy enough that I kept humming it long after playing, and some of the songs have even been looping in my head while I work. In the end, Candy Rangers left me feeling satisfied. Mechano has taken a simple concept and turned it into an engaging score chaser that encourages replay after replay. A bonus arcade mode and hard difficulty setting add even more reason to return, giving the game legs beyond its short runtime. The flaws do make it a little more frustrating than I like at times, but not enough to ruin the experience. For such a small project, Candy Rangers is a sweet surprise worth giving a shot. Noisy Pixel is giving Candy Rangers a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.